Chapter 191 I stand in the shadow cast by my little parasol, a new iteration in a line of objects doomed to fail here in the court of fire and light, in the sphere of righteous war, under the gaze of its sovereign. It provides the little dot of penumbra I need to anchor my power, so that the cold and dark can lurk at the edge as they always do. Without this, I could not face him and stand. A vampire of lesser power would be leaking ash from disintegrating fingers by now, so powerful he is. I can only thank the Watcher that he elected to make only our native sun a bane, rather than every star, or my little foray into the spheres would have been more difficult. Regardless, the heat beats upon my shoulders like a hammer. Scalding air scorches my back even as the aurora attempts to keep it at bay. The sovereign holds himself back, I can feel. He has withdrawn from me the same aura that Sinead now basks in, and I owe my continued survival to his restraint, a restraint that much more commendable since he has failed to cast away the Watcher. I hope he does not ask me to make him leave because I would have a better chance tickling Murari to death with an ostrich feather. Thankfully, the king and the crowd's attention are fully dedicated to the smiling, rakish prince. It is his day after all. Victory is yours, your ascendancy is complete. Behind the powerful feeling of recognition, I feel a relatively hidden note of grief in the sovereign's words. His Lycaean is the truest form of language, and its meaning cannot be faked. Although he promotes a cutthroat approach to social climbing, the king obviously regrets the deaths it brings. I come to wonder if he would have felt such pain at the death of Sinead back when he was alone and isolated. Perhaps he only cares about the more notable ones. It would not surprise me. His congratulations feel genuine, however, and after a few more platitudes comes the heart of the matter. You may ask a boon of us. I wish to inherit Reva's estate, Sinead declares without hesitation. It shall be so, mine is what is owed to his wives and offspring, according to our rules. Thank you, father. The sovereign turns to me and I almost fall to my knees. He keeps the fire and light at bay, and despite that, the mere weight of his presence pressures my mind. Suddenly, I feel my hand held in his. The king's skin is warm, his fingers calloused. They are delicate and covered in small scars that cannot be seen from afar. His presence now steadies me instead of pushing me aside. You are welcome here as our guest. Ask your boon, child from a distant sky. I look up to his suddenly close face. He smells of the sun over clean linen and also faintly of ashes. His smile is for the crowd. In his eyes, I find a warning meant only for me. He must know I would ask for blood. Or I would have without the prophecy. When Sinead challenged the Old One to a dance-off, the dragon's response had been a life-changing spectacle that revealed the secrets of the universes, one that my feeble mind had failed to retain. Except for a few fragments. When I was still drunk and looking for what I remember to be a particularly fluffy rabbit, an episode I will never admit happened, I mistakenly tried to force a prophecy, opening my intuition to greater heights. It is not an exercise I usually do because Nashoba and the Sierrash both insisted I should not depend on it. And so, I have not. It seemed like a good idea at the time. The event conspired, and it was as if I had opened the floodgates. A powerful vision came to me, one where I recognized the Chata's words of ash and thin air. I remember little of it, but what I do know is that there is an item I absolutely need before I return. I need the seed of a world tree, I tell the sovereign. Silence spreads over the arena. The quiet expands directly from the king, as if it were not so much an absence of noise as a denial of all sounds. If I have to be perfectly honest, I do not know how rare those are. I just know that a world tree can fare well almost anywhere. For an instant, I fear I may have offended him, but he soon nods in approval. Summer ever approves of those working towards a brighter future. We shall grant you this boon. Oh good, I did not accidentally offend him. That would have been a relatively awkward and brief experience. I relax a little as Cadmus names his boon. I wish for the spear of Orphan the One-Eyed, whom you defeated upon the field of Crash, and slew, then taking his weapons as trophy. You wish to reclaim the legacy of your ancestor. We approve of your choice, young one. May you acquire his fury yet keep your own judgment. I shall, King. Thus is the challenge concluded. I have spoken. The sovereign about faces, walking out while we all bow to his passage. Only when the afternoon light loses some of its radiance do I finally take a breath as the environment shifts from unbearable to merely stifling. The master of ceremony chases us away gently since we need to give the ground to a group of dancers. I suspect he wishes to reset the mood. Some of the spectators leave, sated. We leave through the victor's gate. Sinead races through a maze of clean corridors to a large room at the edge of the arena's titanic structure. The sun drifts through large windows in a balcony at its back, from where we see the red-tiled roofs of the summer capital. Amaryl stands from her seat near the end of a long table, her eyes wet with emotion. She is joined by Savea and then Sinead's children, who I cannot quite get used to considering some of them look older than me. The newly minted prince of the council embraces them with a profuse display of affection which I find touching since the Fey nobility is not prone to betraying genuine emotions. It makes me miss my human family. I lean against a column, hiding from the light. I wish I could wait, but I am a guest of honor, and they will not let me. Cadmus and I sit at the left and right of Sinead as tradition dictates. Amaryl and Savea come after, which they do not seem to mind. I am toasted and celebrated like Cadmus, then they allow me to fade a little while Sinead attracts most of the attention. This suits me. The celebration attracts quite a few visitors who come to congratulate the newly ascended prince. The gladiators are invited, of course, as is Cadiz, who takes 10 minutes to comment on my performance. All of the guests party with much mirth. Soon, the king delivers the requested spear to Cadmus with his blessing. A demonstration follows, with our new Blood Moon Royal demonstrating how the imposing weapon shines when held by a worthy hand. The gladiators gather around me while the sun begins to set. It was nice that you killed her with Simma's sabers, Captain. It was a nice touch, Noel the flyman says. He sips on a cup of fruity alcohol. I could have done without the visual. What now, Captain? Will you be returning to Voidmoor? Or to your native sphere? Will you take us with you? The muscular Hanadro asks. I will return after dealing with a few last errands. I have tools I can acquire here that will be very useful in the long run, but I cannot delay for much longer. The Court of Blue can only reliably maintain the time dilation for so long, and I am needed home before the battle I left is over. As for taking you with me, I refuse. You would suffer the same fate as Sinead, as you are deprived of your abilities and preyed upon by my kin. It will take centuries before Earth finishes its alignment and magic flows free. You will not live to see it. My declaration seems to sadden them, so I decide to give them a measure of hope. This is a celebration after all. However, I believe Machias had plans. Indeed I do. The Winged One exclaims as he joins us. How would you like to be my enforcers as we take over Voidmoor and its smuggling ring? My little minions have already refurbished the edged bats so we can fly it around as well. Do we get paid in eyeballs? Dancer signs with suspicion. Or perhaps it is eagerness. I find the chitinous plate where his face should be hard to read. No eyeballs for you. I shall compensate you with coin and meat, the very best. The eyeballs stay with me. I leave my minions to discuss the terms of their service. I trust Machias will make a proper offer, if only out of respect for me, but I also suspect some like Dancer might not take it. It does not matter. Their fate is their own, and they are free to continue on their own journey. I can offer little more. Despite the knowledge I will leave very soon, at least according to Fey standards, I mingle with the rest. Emerald congratulates me on a magnificent display and claims she wants to turn it into a dance. Surveyor thanks me for helping her fiancé and wishes us a pleasant time while I remain. In truth, I still find Fey openness strange, though I admit the arrangement I have with Tauron would shock most mortals. As night settles and the capital lights up with multicolored flying lanterns, the party spreads over neighboring rooms. Some dancing occurs and much drinking as well. Couples and groups detach themselves from the rest for privacy. I move to a secluded balcony, letting the cooling air soothe the fear of the day. The seed I requested has not been delivered yet. I have no idea if it will take another hour or a month to obtain it, but until I do, I cannot return. My thoughts wander to Earth, where less than an hour has passed, I think. Surveyor warned there might be small variations. My friends and allies might still be fighting it off, or they could be in the middle of negotiations now that the Cassius Belli has crossed the portal en masse. It could be that Bertrand has forced the issue to avoid the second disaster in a row and the political blow that comes with it. I hope they are fine and that the battle has not taken a gruesome turn. While I enjoy this moment of respite, I feel Sinead's presence hovering at the edge of my small haven. I pulse my arrow once and he approaches. The Sunny Prince takes a spot by my side and we watch his homeland settle for the night in companionable silence. He is quite close and smells nice as well. I love sunshine on the skin of others, just not mine. It finally dawns on me that we have reached the inevitable end to our foray. There are only details left, a few things to acquire, but otherwise I will not engage in any major quests. Once this is done, we will say goodbye for good, I admit. No. Sinead said, no. You are an immortal as well. Time is what we have, provided you win. Provided you endure. No matter how long it takes, we will meet. How long will it take for a path to open from Earth to any of the spheres? Technically we could open one through a great effort. You could do so as well, perhaps. You have enough brilliant minds to at least study the question. How long, Sinead? Time is relative, Ariane. How long on Earth? Do not lie. I know you asked. A moment passes. The prince leans against a nearby railing, his knuckles clutching the stone as if it would fly away and leave him. 3,500 years. It is my turn to be robbed of words. I expected a long time, of course, possibly centuries. But 35 of them? Really? Babylon still ruled over part of Mesopotamia around that time. By the Watcher, 35 centuries? It might as well be forever. I have lived for one and I already barely tolerate some of those strange new fads like OK or the prevalence of Morse code. It might as well be forever. This only reinforces my decision. So when I leave, it will be goodbye for good. I feel that I must clear the air first, so to speak. Solve the tension between us. Can it be solved? It can at least be stated. You already apologized, Sinead. I already admitted that although I understood your decision, the trust between us was gone. It will take a long time to rebuild, a time we do not have because the dilation the Blue Court agreed to maintain will soon come to an end. The spheres will decouple from Earth and the path will eventually be lost. I must leave soon. But not right now. I nod, touched by the slight despair I hear in Sinead's voice. He seems so vulnerable now despite his victory, despite the armor that still clads his handsome form. His eyes of gold settle on me with longing. You are not leaving tonight. I hesitantly take his hand. As expected, it is warm and both soft and calloused under my fingers. Not tonight. As I was saying, you might be an insufferable rogue who thinks he always knows better, but I am still fond of you, you damnable rascal. And thus you are still my puppet. Now I did say I would not leave unfinished business. Ariane. I grab and kiss him. He lets out a muffled squawk, which I find endearing, but then the surprise melts, replaced by a fiery passion of an intensity that surprises me, almost scares me. Sinead kisses like a madman. He is so very warm, and he tastes sweet. The dragon blood has sated me for a while, and I do not feel the overwhelming need to bite as he gathers me in his arms. He caresses my cheek with a sense of pure wonder. I feel desired and I like it. Yes, despite my misgivings, I believe I would have regretted not seizing the moment if I had not decided to let go of my hurt. At least for a while. We do not need to speak for what follows. Asterisk. It has been a month since Sinead's ascension, more than a year since the Court of Blue aligned Earth with itself. It has been over 5 in subjective time. It felt like an eternity. The portal room of the Blue Court will leave a last sterile image of spheres yet so filled with life. Everything is ready. I turn one last time to the people Cadiz and I will leave behind. I have said my farewells, and we all maintain a brave face, but even the frigid cloud smothering my emotions cannot fully shield me from the realization that, by the hypothetical time I return, all of the gladiators will have perished. Machias has not confirmed it, but I was led to understand that his species rarely tolerated eternity, preferring to lose themselves in the depths of their spheres. Sevilla is the last to leave the deck of the Dalton's Fury. Our window will be short, even shorter than we believed. Be sure to stabilize the ship and land as soon as possible. Our measurements indicate the ambient magic will not suffice to keep it airborne. We expected that much. Your house mimic will go dormant quickly. Just make sure to keep her well fed and she should adapt, eventually. All of the goods including the seat are secured in the cargo hold, but place them in a safe spot as soon as feasible. This is truly farewell now, Ariane of the Nirari. May the blue ever favor your aim. You all take care of each other. The princess turns and leaves. We are set. Cadus signals the Blue Court magicians waiting by the crystal aperture. They move and the circle hums with power. My hair stands on ends when azure thunderbolts course over the intricate construct, leaving iridescent scars in the air. Power spikes, a tremendous amount of it, more than we exerted against the Scourge Hive. The Blue Court's wheel treads a needle through time and space, binding our worlds together. A window opens on a cloudy dark sky. The familiar smell of rain, and behind it, maple and pine crosses over the sterile room. I have pushed the power lever forward before the portal is even fully open. The Dalton's Fury, or rather Pookie in ship form, slides on metal rails to a deep dive. We pass through the opening as it reaches the maximum size. The skies of Illinois spread all around us, fresh and familiar. Colors dull. The very air gathers around me, making magic sluggish as the local realm refuses to bend to a foreign will. I lose a sense of wonder and freedom I had come to take for granted. The distant presence of the sun reminds me that strolls under the light of morning will no longer be a possibility, and yet despite all of this, I cannot stop a measure of excitement. I am home. Behind us, the way back to the Face Spheres closes for good. It is finished. I have no time to mourn the end of a fascinating part of my life, because the gravity crystals dim and we quickly lose altitude. Over there, Cadiz yells as he points down and left. I turn the wheel but the commands are barely responsive. I will have to adapt. We're going too fast, Cadiz remarks. Cannot help it, we don't have the means to slow down, I reply. Then we'll overshoot. They are still fighting below, though it seems to be just duels. I do not voice my concern. Instead, I take a quick look below and recognize Constantine's red chain. They battle a wave of fire. Thankfully, I anticipated battle and I am already wearing my armor. Come take the wheel, I will drop down, I inform Cadiz. I will endeavor to set the ship down. The ship will do that part for you. Endeavor to keep it in one piece. We cannot afford to lose the cargo. Yes, child. You have no need to enlighten me, the progenitor spits back, and I do realize that I will have to show deference in public despite our familiarity. There is, however, one person who does not deserve it. I jump overboard as we fly over the site of the battle. I fall and use a whisper of magic to adjust my course, taking in the sights as I grow closer. Torches still surround the earth bastion we used to host the Fey ritual. Two crescents of warriors stand across each other over a cleared field, the masked army still at the edge of the nearby forest. Constantine is dueling Gabriel and winning. I check our line for my friends and spot a slightly singed Jimena. There is also Melusin, who lost her arm but not her tongue, always a pity. Akko, Jarek and Adrian. So far, I count them and find them hurt but alive. Melusin's arm is even slowly regrowing, unlike her dignity. They are fine. I am not too light. I could land discreetly behind. Pa, who am I kidding? I throw Rose on the torched ground between the two casters. The impact showers them with smashed gravel, separating them. A moment later, I slam down with both feet and send a plume of dust to cover both sides. The cold, familiar aura of vampires and the scent of our skin fills my nostrils. It is just as I remember, really just as I remember, up to the damaged gear. We really are the same night I left them all those years ago. It feels so strange, because I am not. The spheres truly are a strange place. I have returned. What did I miss? My side gasps in surprise and confusion, while the Mask Alliance protests and growls. Hisses surge at my interruption. The Accords must have learned I was gone, at least its leaders. Bertrand, however, does not. Insolent child. You are interrupting a ceremonial duel. So we are dueling now? Have you lost your mind? Yes. We are. He said it. I release all the power I have accumulated across hunts and challenges culminating in the dragon hunt, the tributes I received from Sinayat, Cadiz, Cadras and even Machias. I release it all and raise a hollow mountain of thorns around the entire valley, shutting us from the outside. I only leave the Watcher and the Moon Bear in a window high up of us. Thick, shredding thorns bloom on the rampart's surface. The masked vampires recoil visibly when they experience the essence that defeated a dragon, and they finally realize what I have become. Or rather, they assume so. They cannot understand yet. I accept your challenge, I inform a dazed Bertrand. And then I acknowledge my anger towards them. I rush towards the man who cleaved my back with his axe, split my skull open and invaded my land, then smash his face into the ground. I throw him bodily against a sprouting root that snaps back and sends him to the side and into the statue of Lothsax. I call Rose and shred his flank, piercing through the strange crimson armor that his magna arca forms and revealing the flesh beneath. Bertrand yowls in pain. Jean-Baptiste throws himself at me with his massive scythe. I grab him by the neck and look deep into his terrified eyes under the death mask of his avatar. "Waiter, turn," I order. A tendril grabs Bertrand by the heel as he is standing up and sends him on a careening journey ending in the middle of the clearing. The masked masters and lords have taken a few steps back. They have not reached that age by being foolish. I let Dalton's statue shoot him in the back of the knee as a matter of principle, though it will not penetrate deep enough. I am merely making a point. "You come to my land to destroy us," I tell him. Roots and Rose shred him, peeling off his armor layer by layer. The statues emerge from root cartons to deliver underhanded blows. I do not let him stand. "Twice," I say. I have Roots toss him from one side of the battlefield to the other, never letting him regain his footing. Oh, he does twist and turn, but so do the Roots. Those do not have articulations. But that is not even your worst sin, no. I withdraw all the tendrils around him. He does not even waste a moment to charge me with his axe, swinging it towards my chest. I step aside and strike at the last moment. His arm goes flying. I stab his undamaged knee as he passes me by, carried by inertia, then his spine. Each strike of Rose leads to a dreadful crunching sound. I find the experience unchallenging yet cathartic. Your worst sin is to commit to serve a mad king in a battle for which you do not know the stakes. You fool. You absolute. I punctuate every word with a kick against his fallen form. Utter. Arrogant. Short-sighted. Thuggish. Moron. The masked faction does not react. They know that only one other vampire on this planet could possibly hope to stop me, and he is on no one's side but his own. I lift him and stare in the eye revealed by the cracked golden mask. "Give me one reason why I should not kill you now." "Ariane," a voice interrupts from behind. "We are still following the rules of war. Please." Constantine's voice shows the usual patient politeness, as calm on the battlefield as he is in a court of law. I hiss, my face only inches away from the masked leader. He does not beg and his gaze remains steady, though clouded by pain. I could always punch him more. "Bertrand, I believe new elements have changed the balance of power. Perhaps you would consider a withdrawal." "That would be wise," the man chokes. "And yes, I suppose it could be done, and why am I ever considering letting him go? He violated my lair, tried to take what was mine. And accept it, you dare? You dare? This is my land, mine. I decide." WHO walks away and WHO dies, I roar. The walls around us shake. The thorns grow sharper and more numerous. He is on my land for the second time, and this makes me so very angry. I cannot control this burning rage. He should not speak. He should not negotiate. He should grovel like the two-legged pathetic intruder he is. Thief. Of course, Constantine agrees calmly. Bertrand was merely surrendering. We are discussing terms now. You have been away quite some time. Yes, I agree. It would be best if Bertrand makes amends and they all leave your territory promptly. This very night. I realize that my anger has gotten the best of me, and a curious one it is. Where could it be coming from? I have not lost control in a long time. Perhaps my brutal return set off something. Even now, the Dvar essence in me recognizes those are intruders on my land who must be punished for their transgression. Yes, we surrender, Bertrand says. I grab his remaining arm and bite. Some of his lords take a step forward but freeze when Jean-Baptiste holds them back. Bertrand does not struggle and his sweet essence nourishes me, calms me down. Oh, very well, I say, and release him before I can do something too definitive. Even with the certainty that this is the right decision, I still struggle against the urge to turn around and finish him off. Only a single thought occupies my mind now. There is one among my enemies that I will not let go. I walk forward, the masked vampires splitting like the Red Sea before Moses, revealing the bare-armed, blood-soaked form of Malachim. I draw. He grins horribly. His rictus is half provocation and half fury. I need to kill him now. The outer wall of thorn explodes. My intuition warned me and I dodge back. Some of the less fortunate masters are sent crashing down by broken roots. Another arises to match my own, overtaking it a little. The masked vampires run aside. Where they used to stand, only Malachim is left. Malachim. And his sire. For a long moment, Nirari and I glare at each other, taking each other's measure. His strength is incalculable. I might stand a chance now, I think. The rage that came earlier is replaced by an indomitable sense of purpose. He is my equal and I will face him, and I will kill him or die trying. There is no fear in my heart, no sense of powerlessness. We are not evenly matched, but we belong to the same kind. We are devourers. We are dragon slayers. On this planet, we are without match. Nirari wears black plate and he holds in his hand the glaive with which he led the charge back at Black Harbor. Powerful magic hums in his aura, ready to be unleashed. We take each other's measure. And then, another aura comes, not as powerful but still prodigious. Constantine takes his place by my side, then Akko, Jarek, Nemenada, Adrian and the lords and ladies that make up the accords. The masked battle lords may stand to the side but they watch keenly. Cadiz returns from landing our ship. My roots let him through. He moves up to us under the whispered awe of all the masters. Nirari takes in the scene. His cold, inhuman countenance betraying nothing. And then, he laughs. And laughs, and laughs. The curious sound breaks the oppressive silence and surprises even me. It sounds so genuine. Yes. He exults. Yes, of course. It had to be done. It had to be you. And here I worried, thinking it would end in a disappointing slug after a drawn-out hunt, but no. You have achieved the impossible and now I shall finally have a proper ascension. Truly. Fate has set you on my path. I shall leave you now. Do not disappoint. The monster grabs an enraged Malachim by the shoulder and leaves the valley through the gaping hole he left in my defenses. I do not object. Many of us sigh in relief at his departure, but I do not. What he said shows he now considers me as a threat. He should, but I would have preferred to have more time. Do you mind if I conduct the negotiations? Constantine asks me. I wave him away, not eager to experience this bout of rage again. I absolutely cannot allow myself to lose control like this. It appears some adjustment will have to be done. In any case, I turn to my friend and greet them. What exactly happened? Jimena asks. I hug her publicly. To her surprise, Nemenada asks for a hug as well and the taller girl picks me up. You have so much to share, Cupcake, so much to give. I can feel it in your essence. Ah, I should have gone with you. I should have gone with you. Sorry, it was unexpected. Wait, so you were gone for much longer than it seems? Malusan asks with shock. Yes. It is a long story, I wisely tell her since she is only a strong master and therefore a child compared to my greatness. That means you slept with your summer prince while we were fighting for our lives? she explodes, livid. I knew it. You hussy. Trollop. Thrill-seeking degenerate. You were wrong. Wrong. My reputation is in tatters. Chapter 192. After silencing Melusan with the promise of unbridled violence, I have the notable displeasure of facing a large group of irate vampires demanding answers. From their perspective, I was gone for half an hour while they were fighting for their freedom, and the only witness to my disappearance was Martha. My friends would know that duplicity is not in my blood, quite literally, although deception is. The temporary allies I gained for this project are significantly harder to convince, and I do not blame them. Indeed, I have acquired invaluable strength while they held the line. The major issue here is that they are my allies and partners, and therefore I cannot simply bash them over the head with a heavy root for questioning my honor. Although, the drive is strong. There is something different with me. I assumed some of my behaviors would fade with sobriety, but it appears some of the changes are permanent. The urge to remove shoes indoors will be manageable. My sudden bouts of irrational anger might prove more problematic now that the incentive to stop is considerably lower. Why would I care for consequences when I am the consequence? I must force myself to be mature, composed, and patient, the wiser person so to speak, especially when faced with an insistent Safar buzzing with concern. Silence please, give me a moment to quiet you lot. As I said very clearly and several times, I will begin by telling you of my adventures, and then those of you who have questions can take turns to ask them. I will answer most questions to the best of my abilities, and we will not stop until the situation has been made clear. Now, I propose that we reconvene in the dead world where they have seats. Unless you wish to stand in the middle of the clearing until dawn chases us away. We move through the portal with our prisoners, although they keep their weapons and armor. They spread across the tents while we gather on the ritual site with the most precious of commodities and the reason why I moved us all here in this starved, desperate place. Coffee. I would have stabbed Constantine if he had insisted on talking outside when I have my own fresh supply of ground beans waiting for me in a prepared pot. It has been close to 5 bloody years without a nice cup of java. To deprive me would be a crime. For the next 2 hours, I give them an abridged and simplified version of my discoveries, omitting the adventure and insisting on the spheres themselves, their compositions, populations and so on. Cadiz supports me whenever my word comes into doubt. Not that they believe I would lie, but they consider that my mind could have been influenced. The existence of the Sovereign of Summer spreads confusion and dismay among my kin. At some point, one of the masked vampires thinks himself smart by retiring to a nearby tent for the express purpose of eavesdropping. Although not completely a breach of contract, the practice annoys me enough to shove him back to his own man with a forceful application of roots to the groin. Let it be known that I shall answer low blows with lower blows. The questions come soon, and most of them relate to what I can do now since I have kept the existence of Pookie and the Dalton's Fury secret so far. I answer politely. I answer patiently. Even the insinuations that I knew, should have expected, or planned my departure. The only accusations I struggle with are those of delaying my return. Unfortunately, they are correct. My arguments that the opportunity to gain advantages was simply too important fail to gain traction. A hypothetical final battle only you believe in makes for a poor excuse for leaving us alone. I left you for half an hour, and this battle is nowhere close to hypothetical. Even if you win, we would only be replacing a devourer overlord for another. I can only assume you have never interacted with my sire for more than 1 minute, sir, or the difference would be obvious. I can tell they are not satisfied and I know why. I have made incredible progress with this trip, progress that I have not shared yet. They most likely feel neglected. No amount of explanations will make up for that, and that is fine. I will reveal my gifts and acquisitions after they are properly secured. I suspect what upsets them the most is the sudden upheaval of the balance of power. Constantine himself seems unsure on how to handle me, though my calm and lack of grandiloquent evil speech on world domination must assuage his fears. Eventually, there is not much to do but to remind them of the reason for their coming. Mask is defeated once more and our land is secure. We have permanently removed their access to Fey blood, equalizing the battlefield for the foreseeable future. I believe this calls for celebration more than blame. To my surprise, Constantine diplomatically addresses me. You have to understand that we have learned of you disappearing through that portal against our expectations. Now you return much stronger. Have we swapped one threat for another? My outrage must have been obvious because the speaker winces, aware of his heavy-handed approach. Have I not been his supporter all along despite what he did to me? Do the years spent working on golems together not matter at all? What Constantine means, so far rushes to correct, is that this new situation is a lot to take in. We have seen much and been disappointed by much throughout the centuries. Please do not take our concerns personally. Of course I damn will. But never from her. Most vampires turn to Emena, who had been so far standing awkwardly and with puppy eyes next to her equally uncertain progenitor. You have no right to doubt her. My sister has been nothing but an abiding, honorable member of this community and one of the most active proponents of our continued independence. You heard her. She was kidnapped and simply made the best of it, as I would have done, as any of you would have done in those circumstances. Our purpose was to stop Mask and we have done so. You are not entitled to any other results than the ones you joined for. Ariane has been unnerringly loyal to her allies during our stay together. I have seen her respect her word every time, especially to me. She has displayed commitment and a sense of sacrifice. I am glad to call her a friend. Suddenly, the public attention switches to Cadiz and I see something that I never anticipated from my kin. Relief. Oh, they mask it so well I had mistaken it for concern, but what they feel is fear, really. I can taste it in their aura, though they try to mask it. They are smaller than I remember. The Accord's vampires are afraid of me. Not all of them, of course, but enough to be telling. Despite what my dear Jimena said to defend me, the others will not trust me. Our kin cares about their immediate network to some extent, everyone else is rival, ally of circumstance, or prey. There is no in-between. She will not convince them. In the next 10 minutes, my ally and I perform an improvised social gig to soothe everyone. Safar and Constantine walk up to welcome Cadiz and fail to walk back, staying by my side instead. The Cadiz form a line behind the progenitor, who stays around while discussing his plans to stay for a while and observe. The Roland rally around Adrian, who smoothly recenters the discussion around what demands we should make of our masked captives. 10 minutes after the talk has started, I have graciously receded in the background of a newly formed circle, only intervening when the others involve me. I am part of the group again. The fear recedes, turned into the respect afforded to the strong as more and more people ask me questions about the face fears and the hypothetical danger they represent. I do not begrudge them their curiosity and answer truthfully, even though I know I will have to repeat myself in front of the council. The meeting winds down when Constantine walks to a waiting Bertrand, standing with Hastings herself. I hear the unassuming woman jest to Safar about the large number of progenitors present. We do have 4, an extraordinary occurrence. The fact I brought them together brings me great pride. As expected of Mask, they smoothly turned the occasion into a socializing event, and vampires who were skewering each other a couple of hours before now exchanged jokes and taunts. A few sanctioned duels occur when opponents find themselves curious to see who would have prevailed. The abundance of willing mortals helps sate the thirst of those who were seriously wounded. I am fine with this outcome so long as they leave me alone, because I have not forgiven them. I only tolerate them because of our code. We are still on my land. My mild annoyance melts when Urchin and Do approach me. I knew you'd be back stronger, ma'am. I told the big lug, but he wouldn't believe me. You're so strong now, I feel like I'm standing in front of a coming storm. Are you fine? More than fine now that I have had some coffee. I believe things are looking up. I thought I had lost you again, Miss Ari, Do says. He clasps my hands and his giant mitts in an unusual display of physicality. I allow it because it is Do. I could not follow, he finishes. But you were here when I returned. I was waiting. I know I could count on it. Come on, do not stay on the sides. Mingle. They obey, disappearing behind the arguing pair of Martha and Melusan. They look so similar besides hair color. I find the resemblance eerie. Shaking my head, I turn to Amina as she discusses excitedly with her progenitor. Not just the German school, but also l'école des armes and the progress of mounted fencing and formation. There is so much to discover. Jimena says. I will be looking forward to it. I have my own treatises to write on fencing with vampire powers. Oh, and I have a request. If I may. Do tell, Cadiz says guardedly. Could we spar? I do not mean to presume. I would love to receive pointers as well, Suarez adds. Cadiz keeps silent for a few seconds, then slowly, a genuine smile blooms on his pallid face. I would love to. Before we leave, Constantine together with Cadiz, Akko, and a few other warlords ask to spar with me. It soon becomes obvious that despite their considerable powers, I still win. The thorn forest may not seem as impressive as Jarek's seismic fists, but it is uniquely suited to making me control groups, and their numbers do not help them when I can grow roots between each member of the squad and focus on one while keeping the others busy. Constantine's barrage of powerful chains exhausts itself chasing ghosts while statues overwhelm him despite his decent close-quarter skills. Cadiz cannot match my speed, and I show no mercy in my style, fully aware that any sloppiness on my part will be paid later when I face my sire. I outpunched Jarek, which brings him great satisfaction, thus cancelling his main strength. Akko and Wilhelm are not strong enough to oppose me, although they use axes to great effect. The chaos of battle inevitably ends in my victory, although I do have to make efforts. Between magic, fencing, my Magna Arca, and guns, I have the tools to overcome any opposition. I use the opportunity to remind Jarek that he would personally sponsor me for the seat Queen of America if I were to defeat Bertrand in single combat. My remark is taken quite seriously and leads to a round of negotiations behind closed doors in the Boston fortress. In the end, I accept not to claim the title for two reasons. First, there should be no queens in America. The last time someone tried it did not end so well. Second, I find our community to be a den of ruthless, manipulative, devious, stubborn old curmudgeonly predators, and I refuse to spend a second more than I have to on unruffling feathers. I would very much leave that task to Safar, since she not only excels at it, but she enjoys it too. Truly career socialites are strange creatures. The same applies to Constantine and his watcher cursed paperwork. I am pleased to let him handle taxes, fees, trade dispute arbitration, and the general application of the law. And by that I mean that I would rather stab myself in the knee with a sharpened cross than be more involved. I have enough to handle as it is. We effectively hold all power between the three of us. I propose to simply enshrine yours by granting you a title and the power you desire, that of summoning the accords to war, so far offers as we sit in comfortable chair in the Speaker's private quarters. Unfortunately, we need a majority of 2/3 for any major change to the power structure. We do not have it now. I can purchase it, I assure them. I have a bargaining chip I wanted to share anyway. *****. The streets of Moonside have not changed much. A population of werewolves tends to remain stable at most times, due in part to their amazing physical resilience, and the lack of children. Jeffrey greets me with his usual congenial smile. "It's good to see you, bosswoman. How did that little thing go? I told June it would be fine, that you knew what you were doing after all this time, but she wouldn't stop." "I am sure the thought of losing me was too much to bear," I sarcastically reply. The werewolf leader gives me a mischievous wink under the worried gaze of his guards. So long as I live, the werewolves are well protected from many dangers. I happened to travel to the other side for a little while and I bear a gift. Or rather, I thought it was when I found it, but it might be double-edged. The other side? The dead world you mentioned? No. The world of the Fae. You went there. Briefly. And I brought something back. I remove a statuette from my pouch. It features the frame of a woman, little more than a miniature mannequin. Very nice. Touch it, Jeffrey, and you will understand. He does, and his fingers freeze as soon as they touch the delicate artifact, or delicate in appearance at least. His eyes search mine. It is calling, but I cannot answer. So coming. Only women may bind this. If she touches it during the full moon, it will cut her from the curse. Yes. But then. Yes. Jeffrey breathes hard. He licks his lips with nervousness and a powerful longing. Will the child? I do not know. I only know that it will be possible. The artisan was quite certain it would function. Jeffrey guffaws. It is not a nice laugh. Poisoned indeed, bosswoman. The sweetest poison you could ever find. Ah, and to think we went 5 years without murder. Only one person at a time can bind this item, is it not so? I nod. It was difficult to acquire, or rather, I had to find one who could do it. Yes. How wonderful and damnable. You know, bosswoman, sometimes hope is a curse. I read somewhere that all gifts of the Fae were traps. You are no exception. You could return it. No, I really could not. Name your price. I want you and your clan by my side when I face my sire. I will not send them to fight my kin, but I will need all the help I can get during daylight. When will it be? Not any time soon. This is a pact between myself and your clan. Your clan must adhere to it and they will collectively hold the promise. The clan answer to me. Yes, you have a deal. All of my warriors and myself for that last campaign. He stays quiet for a moment, though I can tell he has something left to say. You smell different. What else did you find? Power. I found power. Asterisk. The White Cabal complex at Avalon may not have changed over the past years, but my accommodations have. Rather than being made to wait outside at the councilman's convenience, I now wait in a guest office inside of the expanded government building with a cup of black tea. I do not really enjoy black tea. I hinted at it several times, but the only reaction I get from the assistant who delivers my drinks is terror. The last time, she almost tipped the cup into my lap, and so I sipped the bitter liquid with mild annoyance. Finally the woman returns to whisper that I am expected. She smells of cheap terror. I can go weeks without feeding now, and the mild temptation is easy to keep under control. The council room is circular, with seats arranged in an amphitheater and each chair placed behind the more decorated one belonging to the main councillors. The fat president still gives and takes the right to speak with bangs of his mallet. I never bothered to learn his name. The head librarian is the same positively ancient woman covered in trinkets. There are some new faces, however, especially since a few were removed from their shoulders after the attempted coup a while ago. "What is that she's holding?" a new councilwoman asks. The president turns to me this time. I have in my hands a long staff wrapped in a snug wood casing. Its shape is quite obvious, especially for mages whose use of the gauntlet is only a recent change. "Would you like to tell us now?" I assume this is relevant to the conversation. I come bearing answers and a proposal. The staff is part of my proposal. "How do we know it's not a trap?" the councilwoman insists, breaking protocol. She is quite young and beautiful in a pouty sort of way, with raven hair and thick lips tastefully underlined with minimal makeup. I approve of her efforts, but not of her interruptions. Ugh, every time I deal with mages, a good third of the time is wasted on grandstanding. They are like us but without manners. Then I propose you start with it, since there are bound to be many questions. Certainly. I will be brief. There will be a battle in the future that will decide the fate of our planet, and I want you by my side when it happens. We have already agreed to a defensive alliance. Will this be any different? The man we will be facing will not attack us, he will attack another immortal. If he wins, he will gain enough power to take over the world single-handedly, and there will be very little we can do to stop him. One of your kin. The one who made me. The first of our kind. They mull over the news in collective silence for a moment. I sometimes forget that the mortals know very little about us, as we like to keep our affairs private and deny the curious with extreme prejudice. I consider the current notion to be relevant to the negotiations and ultimately harmless, unlike, for example, the number of top-level civil servants we hold sway over. Which is most of them. How old is he, exactly? The black dog asks. Approximately 2,600 years. This time the mages are dumbstruck. They know very well the older a vampire grows and the more powerful they become. It does not take a genius to realize the implication. Can a man like this even be stopped? Another counselor asks. Due to special circumstances, I have gained the strength to face him at least. Victory is not assured, however. Can you give us an idea of what he can do? In answer, I deploy my aura. I always keep myself under control these days, since it is only polite, but now I am here to impress upon them the necessity of unity. This time, I'll let go. It feels like removing an overly tight piece of garment if said garment encircled one's soul. I refrain from sighing in contentment. A few of the people at the back gasp, but the archmages and veteran politicians facing me merely flinch, doing their best to keep their composure. The lights flicker, which is new. Slowly, the warm glow of the lamps turn bluish and the temperature drops. The fading warmth of the mortal's breath produces amusing puffs of mist. You have made your point, the president says. I regretfully pull my power back in. The cold lingers for a while, even after someone opens a window to let warmer air in. It gives the mages a moment to consider. Eventually, they recover enough to pretend they were merely considering my words. And what do you expect us to do? I do not expect you to face him in direct combat. The strength of mages has always relied on preparations, planning, and superior tactics. This is what I would like you to contribute. In return, I will offer you this staff, I say, and I open the package. What does this do? A younger member asks with interest. It gives you a fighting chance. I reveal a silver implement of sublime make, a work of art covered in thin, interlocking layers of runes. No human hand could craft such an elaborate masterpiece, and even a mundane human could feel the power it exudes. This is a blue court war rod, a proprietary design of their fighting forces. No human mages can live long enough to hope to harness its potential, although Frost would have been able to use the entire ice magic system. The man or woman who wields this shall become a champion among mortal casters. They will outshine entire cables through sheer might. And the price for that? I already paid it. Only one person may bind the staff, but so long as you hold your part of the agreement by supporting me with your full military for one battle, it will be yours now and forever. We understand each other. Mages may not lie or break oaths easily. If they deny me, they might not lose their lives, but the staff will at the very least become cursed, not least because it was made by a Lycian. I am asking for a very serious commitment. Where did you find such a thing? You know the Fae are gone, I start. There is a little back and forth when they deny and deflect, as if the beat of their hearts and the smell of their stress were not all the answers I need. It takes half an hour of pointless deliberations before the leadership admits they knew of this phenomenon, which leads to another 15 minutes of subtle recriminations from those who were unaware of the fact. It has only been 2 weeks. The news is still fresh. Casters in general only kept a handful of Fae captive due to the amazing reward one could receive by giving them to our kin, and also the risk of being slaughtered if found sheltering them. It does not surprise me to learn that their fate would be hidden under a mantle of secrecy. I admit I was also wrong, many of them did not know. Sinead has the truth of it. One of the most common mistakes is losing sight of what people know. I will miss the smug bastard. The path to the Fae worlds has closed and shall remain so for the next few millennia, barring the odd and unreliable phenomenon, so this is effectively a unique artifact of unmatched power. Please consider this a mark of my esteem, of my respect for your abilities, and of the hope that we will face that devil together. Over the next couple of hours, I am asked much about the Lycian spheres, and I keep my answers secret and mysterious for a single overarching reason: I am having fun. Besides, being insufferably mysterious is so deeply rooted in our personalities that to act with too much honesty would raise even more suspicions. They finally work their way backward to the conclusion. Wait. You freed the Fae? You? And sent them to their home plane? Yes. How do we know she just didn't slaughter them all? The aggravating girl replies. I learn that her name is Daphne, and she is the new face of the human supremacy faction. Although I respect her for her attempts, her continuous insinuations are working against her at the moment. The proper way to do so is to save all those insinuations for her followers and only confront her foes with accusations that are too difficult to deny, otherwise the conclusion is what happens now. And how would she have collected the staff then? You can feel its power as well as I can. There is no denying it. It was made in another world, the librarian scoffs. I let the argument wind down a little, until I am asked to leave so they can deliberate. I wisely leave the staff in plain sight with a small charge just so they can feel its power calling to them while they talk. Eventually, the temptation is simply too great and I get a carefully worded contract signed. I have the core of a group. Now that it is done, I need to keep searching for new allies. I have time, but so does he. Asterisk. Ariane. Lass, is that really ye? I thought you were still in the New World doing your thing. I have not left yet and I also completed the project successfully. It is done. That's great to hear. How can ye reach here from America? No mirror should be this stable. I have enough power to fuel a spell at this range. I am also using the Aurora's chest plate. It has changed a little. What did ye do to my masterpiece? The Fey Ice World helped it along to completion, shall we say. You will see when you get here. And why would I get? What is that thing? Those runes, but no, it cannot be. I do not. Is that one gravity? Wait, why Ariane, what did ye find? Flying ships. Please tell me ye didn't let any of those young nympties catch a gander at this, they'll demolish the bloody thing. By tar, tell me ye kept the diagrams, drawings, anything. I brought back the ship. You. Yes. It is currently moored on my land, but we have a problem. The ambient mana is too weak to keep it afloat for extended periods of time. We need a way to adapt the design to our sphere. You are the best arcane engineer on the planet. Think you can help? Deanie, move it, Deanie, screw with it, and keep the humans midst of that thing, ye hear? I'm coming. Asterisk. Over the next few months, I find that the recent crisis has subsided but that its waves only grow with every passing day. The news of Mask's second defeat and their retreat over the ocean is noted by most information networks, including the Mormon-Dane ones. The reason for their defeat and the disappearance of an entire species all trace back to me. As a relatively public figure, I have no need or advantage denying the truth, especially since many rumors claim I murdered the fate of the last one. The unintended consequence of my success, the sheer scope of the operation, and Bertrand's crushing defeat in a one-on-one duel propels me to fame. I receive much attention from almost every faction that knows of us. Isaac even hints that the information package on my person has been purchased so many times it became the information broker's most sold commodity this year. Not all of this attention is good, obviously, and I am compelled to hire additional help to protect the secrecy of my latest project, as well as my life. The sun has not lost its hold on me, and as unstoppable as I am at night, the cruel orb still stops me. I suspect summer essence has increased my resilience. It just means I will simmer instead of roasting. Progress. Eventually, Constantine and Safar put my request forward and the vote is called. I can tell from the eyes of my assembled kin that they expect some sort of compensation as the council assembles in the courtyard outside of the Boston fortress. I point up to the night sky, surprising many with my seemingly absurd display. Above us, there are only low clouds. First they hear the flap of propellers and the whoosh of hot air leaving a balloon, then the hull appears, soon followed by sails. Curses and exclamations of surprise emerge from a notoriously quiet crowd, pleasing me greatly. Is this a flying ship? It is more than a flying ship. It is a proof of concept. It is the future. It is here, and through me, the Accords shall control the exclusive rights to it. Welcome to a new era of magic and technology. Let us control it, shall we?